In today's episode, CNN continues to admit how much President Trump is winning. Secondly, another American citizen and her daughter have been killed by an illegal alien, and Congress is struggling to get their act together as President Trump's nominees have still yet to be confirmed. In these stories, we'll show you what both sides are saying and give you the bottom line.
And I think the theme of this segment is going to be love it, like it, lump it. Trump's remaking the United States of America. We can start there with tariffs. What are we talking about? No tacos for Trump. The effective tariff rate, get this, 18%. It is the highest, Omar, the highest since the 1930s, up from, get this, just 2% last year. As I'm going to talk about in this segment, I can't think of a more influential president during this century, and it starts here with tariffs. He said he was going to raise tariffs, and despite the claims otherwise, he is in fact doing that. The effective tariff rate at this point looks to be 9 times as high as it was last year, the highest since the 1930s in FDR, Omar.
And the effective tariff rate is up from 2% last year, for those that might see the banner there.
And the numbers are so mind-blowing here that even the New York Times had to do an article titled, "Trump's Tariffs Are Making Money That May Make Them Hard to Quit." The tariffs are a substantial new source of revenue for the federal government. The budget may start to depend on it. They even go as far to provide a graph that clearly shows you the revenue in July of 2025, which reached $29.6 billion in 1 month. And this has dwarfed whatever has come previously, as you guys have seen in the graph here. Now let's go to the other accomplishment that CNN had to admit. Take a look at this.
Tariffs, though, aren't the only way Trump's remaking policy in America, right?
It is not the only way that Trump is remaking America. What are we talking about? Well, let's jump. The other big thing that Trump ran on, right, was immigration. How about net migration in the United States? Get this, it's down. It's going to be down at least 60%. We may be dealing with, get this, negative net migration to the United States in 2025. That would be the first time there is negative net migration in this country in at least 50 years. We're talking about down from 2.8 million in 2024. So Donald Trump has always run on tariffs, and he's run on a hawkish line on immigration. And on both of those issues, we are seeing record high tariff rates for this century going all the way back, well back into the early part of the 20th century. And when it comes to immigration, net migration, we are seeing record low levels, way down from where we were during the Biden administration. We are potentially looking at negative net migration for the first time in at least 50 years. And that is a big reason why that I'm saying that Trump, at least in my mind, is the most influential president, certainly this century, and probably dating a good back chunk into the 20th century as well, Omar.
Okay, so what I find interesting about this particular accomplishment from the president is that during COVID, clearly the numbers dropped, right? But that was due to a pandemic. The numbers have dropped even lower than that due to the president's policies. And I think that tells the entire story here. I mean, if there's one thing that they cannot argue with when it comes to President Trump and what he's been able to do in his first 6 months, it's the work that he has done on the border. It's the one thing that I can't wrap my head around why Democrats just won't give him credit for it. It's fascinating. And the other thing that's fascinating is just the effort and the action that the president has taken. I mean, just look at how many executive orders he signed in his first 6 months.
So when you say most influential, I mean, statistically, how much is Trump doing?
Yeah, okay, so let's talk about this. How about executive orders? Already, 180 executive orders signed by Donald Trump this year. You have to go all the way back to the FDR administration once again to find a year in which there were as many executive orders signed as we have this year. To give you an idea, Biden during his first year signed 77. That's the entire year. We're only a little bit more than halfway through this year, Omar. Again, this is why I'm saying executive orders, immigration with net migration, and we're talking about tariffs and the effective tariff rate. Donald Trump is remaking the United States. Love it, like it, or lump it. He has been tremendously influential to a historic degree, Omar.
So bottom line here is CNN is continuing to admit not only the successes of this presidency, even though they don't say that verbatim because, you know, even when they tell the truth, they kind of skew it, right? Which is why I'll watch CNN for you and give you the bottom line here, which is that CNN is reporting the facts. The facts show that President Trump has been successful as a president, has taken more action in 6 months than Joe Biden did in 4 years. You just can't argue with that. You just can't. The results tell the story. Now, speaking of results telling the story, why is it that President Trump is so hell-bent on making sure this border is closed? Because it seems to me that every week there's a tragic story like the one we're about to show you now, where there's an illegal alien committing a crime against an American citizen. Take a listen to this.
A New Jersey mother and her 11-year-old daughter were killed last week in a wrong-way crash allegedly caused by an illegal alien. DHS says the man who caused that crash has actually had not one but 2 previous DUI arrests in just the last couple of months. It's an incredible story. CB Cotton has more from the Big Apple. Hey, CB.
Hey, Kevin. Yeah, the horrific wrong-way crash instantly killed the New Jersey mom, according to investigators. The woman's 11-year-old daughter later died at the hospital. So family members gathered yesterday at a funeral home to remember the lives of Maria Plates and Dayanara Cortez. About 150 people showed up for the emotional gathering, many wearing shirts with photos of the mother and daughter.
Okay, what I want to do right now is run a little exercise, and I want to get your guys' feedback in the comment section below. Let's just take what Democrats are saying at face value as truth. The worst outcome for a migrant in this country, according to Democrats, is what? One or two things, really. They end up in a migrant detention facility where they're getting 3 meals a day. It might be cold. Some days the AC doesn't work and they have to brush their teeth next to a toilet. Or they get deported back to their homeland and their family has to go with them. That's the worst outcome for Democrats. That's what they're crying about. Now let's compare that to this story, which is what conservatives and President Trump has been crying about. An illegal alien crosses the border, illegally, by the way, commits a crime, gets arrested, released back into the community because the local PD does not communicate with ICE, commits the same crime again, they release him again, then he finally commits the crime one more time and murders an American citizen, a mother and a daughter. Now, that is the worst outcome that we've been talking about. Which one is worse? A migrant detention facility or an American citizen and her daughter being murdered? You let me know in the comment section.
Outlet The Lakewood Scoop was the first to report on last weekend's crash, gathering this disturbing video from this scene. DHS says an illegal migrant from Mexico, Raul Luna Perez, is responsible for crashing his Dodge Durango head-on into the mother's Nissan Sentra. First responders noticed on scene that Luna Perez showed signs of impairment, according to prosecutors who say he was taken to an area hospital where his blood was drawn with a court-authorized warrant. Luna Perez now faces 2 counts of vehicular homicide and assault by auto. But investigators say the crash is not his first run-in with the law, as you mentioned. He was arrested, get this, twice for a DUI charge in March and April of this year, and in June 2023, he was arrested for simple domestic violence. DHS says he was never deported due to New Jersey's sanctuary policies. We had some soundbite there, but I don't think we have it at this moment, Kevin. I do want to say DHS says it's not clear when Luna Perez illegally entered the U.S., but now ICE has lodged a detainer and started the process of removing him from the country while he remains in custody.
Okay, it's sickening to say the least. That's number one. Number two, Democrats would have more credibility about all the crying they're doing about migrants being swooped up in the middle of the night if they would acknowledge this type of heinous act. Their level of acknowledgement lasts only 2 seconds. Yeah, of course we condemn such and such for X, Y, and Z. Moving on. That's their attitude. Not, you know what? I call on our local authorities to work with ICE to prevent people like this from committing crimes against American citizens. You never hear that from them. That's why they lack credibility on the issue.
Tricia, domestic violence on top of multiple DUIs, and now he kills someone. This is exactly the fallout that one would expect when you have no border policy. And people like this can come in and then kill innocent people.
You're exactly right. This is just so gut-wrenching. And it is these sanctuary city policies. That is the reason that an 11-year-old girl and her mother are are not alive today and not with us today, because when that domestic violence charge came, when those 2 separate DUI charges came, what those sanctuary city policies did was not allow ICE into those prisons to remove this illegal alien. So then he was released back onto New Jersey streets and commit this fatal crime. It's just awful, Kevin. And Governor Murphy must answer for this.
And to make things even more frustrating, at the same time that stuff like this continues to happen, you have this ruling from an appeals court that keeps in place the restrictions on immigration stops in Los Angeles based on language and job. Now, remember, this is the lawsuit filed by Mayor Karen Bass against the Trump administration that alleges that ICE agents were pretty much racially profiling migrants, okay? And so even though this is a ruling from the appeals court, okay, it still isn't going to stop ICE from doing their job. I think the biggest impediment of ICE being able to do their job, which is to get the bad guys out of this country, is sanctuary city policies.
Says Los Angeles stood strong and we won. You can't just snatch people off the streets based on appearance. The court knows that, and the people know that, and now this administration knows that. She seems to be suggesting that there was racist intent to go and extract these individuals. What do you say when you see something like that said by a leader of America's second largest city?
It's a failure of leadership, Kevin.
Yeah.
70% of those illegal aliens who have been arrested under this administration have either criminal conviction or pending criminal charges. We are getting the worst of the worst, whether it be terrorists, of which we've arrested 600 known or suspected terrorists, 2,700 Tren de Aragua members who have just been walking around with impunity in America's streets. Those are the people we are getting out of this country, and we will continue to do so with or without Karen Bass's help.
Now, at this point, I think it would be good for the administration to just come out bluntly and say, hey, listen, priority number one are the criminals with convictions and a criminal history. Priority number two are people who entered the country illegally. They may not be a criminal after that crime they committed. And priority number three are undocumented migrants. You don't have your papers and orders and you've been in this country for 20 years, you're gone. I think they should just come out and plainly say it at this point. And the problem with our country is it's the messaging around the deportations and people's legal status that has confused people. I'm not confused. But Democrats like to prey on people's confusion, and in some cases, they like to weaponize it. Here's a prime example of the way that they do it. Senator Alex Padilla had the audacity to ask a mother who lost her daughter to a crime that was committed by an illegal alien this question.
Raise your hand if you think all immigrants are criminals. Let the record reflect none of the witnesses raised. All immigrants are criminals?
Are you talking about illegal immigrants or immigrants who came here legally and did it the right way? Which one?
By a show of hands. Raise your hand if you believe all immigrants
that's not going to be a proper answer to that.
Or even most.
But no, again, all illegal immigrants are criminals because they came here illegally.
All right, no question. That was a stupid question. And the fact that I got to go through this shows you what's wrong with politics, okay? Now, I'm not going to go over this to insult your intelligence. I'm giving you this in case you run into someone like Senator Alex Padilla. What does a undocumented migrant, an illegal alien, an illegal immigrant, a criminal illegal alien all have in common? They're in the country unlawfully according to the U.S. Constitution. Doesn't matter how they got there. Doesn't matter how they got into the country. Doesn't matter if they committed a crime or not. They are in the country unlawfully and they could be deported on sight. Bottom line. Now, even if they have an asylum claim, they're still subject to deportation until the asylum claim has been approved. Now, Democrats cry due process, but that is the law. Now, this senator is so disingenuous because you would never call a naturalized citizen a legal immigrant. You would call them a naturalized citizen because that is the legal term. That's who they are, a citizen of our great country. So he's a complete joke, to say the least. Now, obviously, if you're here on a visa, a work permit, you're here lawfully, okay? So I want to make sure we understand the proper terms because so many times people give an opinion, they use words they don't even know the definition to. And just to go a little deeper so you know exactly who he is, pay attention to this.
My focus has been on the people who have been here, millions of long-term residents of the United States who happen to be undocumented that have been the target of this administration's increasingly aggressive and cruel arrest, detention, and deportation policy.
Now, did you hear that? Not the sirens in the background, but he said his focus is on the millions of undocumented migrants. I just went over who they are. They're in the country unlawfully. That is the bottom line to it. And for the people who don't like the fact that President Trump is deporting these people, then they need to be advocating for Democrats to change the law. And when Democrats had an opportunity to change the law because they had a majority in the government, they didn't. All right, next story is about President Trump and his nominees. Majority of them have yet to be confirmed by the Senate. Democrats are continuing to play games and to delay the process to slow him down. And of course, this led to a post from President Trump targeting Chuck Schumer and telling him to go to hell. Let's hear more on that now. Take a listen.
The Senate leaves D.C. with about 150 of President Trump's nominees still pending confirmation. This was a bit of a U-turn for lawmakers. Republicans had spent much of Saturday's rare session hoping to strike a deal with Democrats. Democrats wanted the White House to unfreeze federal funding for several programs like the NIH and foreign aid. In exchange, they would approve several of the president's non-controversial nominees. But the president, though, in a Truth Social post, compared the demands to political extortion. He told Republicans to reject the offer and to tell Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer to, quote, go to hell. Schumer says it's the president who pulled the plug on the negotiations.
The bottom line is we were getting close on a whole lot of issues, and Donald Trump just pulled the rug out from under people. And even before that, when it looked like we were getting close a day before, he again called in and screwed it all up. They should stop listening to him if they want to do what's good to the American people.
But Democrats have been slow-walking the president's nominees for months. Now more Republicans are warming up to the idea of changing the Senate rules to expedite the confirmation process. Republicans and Democrats have complained about the confirmation process, which has gotten longer over the last several years, though, as both sides ramp up their efforts to obstruct nominees. Kevin.
Okay, so there are two issues, one on the Republican side and another on the Democrat side. Now, on the Democrat side, Chuck Schumer is demanding billions of dollars to give to foreign aid and other nonsense that Democrats are all obsessed about in order to allow Democrats to vote to meet the 60 number of votes that would be needed to confirm someone in the Senate. On the Republican side, the problem is Senator John Thune and people like Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski. They're not keen on allowing President Trump to exercise something called recess appointments. And so what you have here is a Congress, once again, unable to do their job when it matters most.
Look, this all comes down to not allowing the president to move his agenda forward. There's absolutely no reason why these nominees should not have been already put through. You already had a bipartisan support. They already went through the committee's committee process. So why are we here now discussing this?
Well, one reason is that Chuck Schumer is demanding billions of dollars for foreign aid and NIH research. And that's our money.
He's holding votes for hostage over money.
That's right. He's forcing, and I think the president is right to stick up for us, the taxpayers, and say, I'm not going to fritter this money away to get my nominees approved.
Now, what's fascinating is if President Trump demanded $1 billion to go to whatever he wanted to go through, mainstream media would be all over this, right? They would be saying that he is the one, using extortion, blackmailing people of Congress. Right, they'd go all out on the language. It's fascinating how silent they are, what Chuck Schumer was trying to do here. And of course, he has his version about what happened, and so did Senator Thune. Here's both of them speaking about all this. Take a listen.
This is historic and unprecedented obstruction when it comes to allowing someone who has been elected by the people of this country in a fairly significant, I would argue, mandate, an election, to get their person in place to do the jobs that the American people elected that president, President Trump, to do.
Schumer, meantime, says it's the president who blew up the negotiations.
Trump threw in the towel, sent Republicans home, and was unable to do the basic work of negotiating. Is this the art of the deal? Posture? Cajole, stamp your feet, and then give up? This says it all. Donald Trump tried to bully us, go around us, threaten us, call us names, but he got nothing.
There's a lot of political noise here, so let me give you exactly what's going on here. The president at this point can exercise recess appointment. He can do that. The problem is if he appoints someone, it's only temporary, and sooner or later they have to be confirmed. That's problem number one. Problem number two, he's going to get a lot of pushback from Republicans if he decides to do this, because they will treat it as if he is sidestepping checks and balances and his authority. My only pushback to that type of language is, well, why does recess appointments exist then? It's not the president sidestepping Congress authority. It's something that's available to the president when Congress is not in session or they're on recess. So totally makes sense to me. But anyways, Chuck Schumer continues to make a fool of himself as a result of all this. And here is Senator John Kennedy and his advice.
But my advice, for what it's worth, to Senator Thune is to just whip us until we can't be whipped anymore. If everybody wants to play this game, then make it as painful as he can for both sides until they just cry like a baby and say, we'll do whatever you want. We'll stand on one leg and bark like a dog if you tell us, but don't make us do this anymore. But and maybe he took my advice, because we would normally start voting at 11. Now we're starting at 10, and to do one every 2 hours, it's going to occupy our time a little bit. But it's a waste of time. That's the point I'm trying to make. I don't mind doing it. This is my job. I'll stay here until the second coming, if that's what they want. But it's just a waste of time. If we're going to stay here, let's work on something meaningful.
All right, so the bottom line to everything that's going on here, Democrats do not want to confirm President Trump's nominees. Now, the reality here is both sides of the aisle, they have to do this. Senate requires 60 votes. So this happens every time there's a new president. Republicans had to hold their nose back in 2021 when Biden got his nominees in. The problem is Democrats are taking this to the extreme, which is why there's only a small percentage of people who's been nominated so far who's been confirmed in President Trump's administration. That's number one. Number two, again, he has the option to exercise recess appointments. So even though social media might be telling you Leader Thune is blocking the president, he's not. It's that the president isn't really in a rush to exercise that, because if he does, there's going to be a huge problem between him and Republicans. And I believe both sides really do not want to go down that road. And finally, this is what happens when Trump derangement syndrome is truly fatal. Their hatred for the president, it's what's really slowing everything down. And hopefully they will be able to get this figured out and get his nominees confirmed. So let's get to what you guys have to say in the comment section below to a multitude of these stories today. Let's start with the one that's more of a tragedy. Again, not just one, but 2 American citizens have been killed by an illegal alien, a mother and a daughter, because of drunk driving. Democrats will be silent on this. Republicans will scream about it. And the difference here is that if you compare the worst outcomes from both sides of the aisle, okay, this is the worst case scenario. Let me know if you guys agree with that assessment. And then also the accomplishments that CNN continues to recognize from President Trump. Net migration is down. Tariff revenue is up. Okay. And the executive orders are through the roof. Let me know what you guys think about what CNN continues to do here, and just put all your thoughts in the comment section below. Now, it seems to me that recently I've been having to talk about CNN for quite a bit, because yesterday, which is our next video, the host is trying to get Democrats to realize that it's okay to give President Trump credit when he does the right thing. You got to see this for yourself. So if you're interested, all you have to do is click on that video, because it's coming up right now.